What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new week of Morning Cuppa Hockey presented by Bet365. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets, whatever the sport, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365, so use our code Daily365. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving to all the Canadian folks that listen to our show. Colby and I, as the kids say right now, have been catching vibes this morning. Vibes. The chat's buzzing. I'm in a great mood. Colby's smiling. We got afternoon hockey today, 1 p.m. games. Vibes cannot be higher. Colby, how was your weekend?
So I found myself this weekend behind the bench with the junior team at the Titans, a place that I never thought I would find myself, to be honest. You know, I've been, helping with that organization for the last couple of seasons. And, my role has always been strictly weekday. Last year, towards the end of the year, you guys remember I would talk a little bit extra about the U18 team as we went on a playoff run. But, unfortunately, the Titans ownership group made a change to their coaching staff, and the new head coach is actually one of the owners of the organization and has sort of asked me to help just a little bit extra as we kind of go through this transition period. And, I'm the only really familiar face that I would say that the players had with the junior team in particular, because I had already been helping with that team. So this weekend, the game Friday night was somewhat local for me, against Philadelphia Hockey Club, and then played them again at Middletown, on Saturday, and got a sweep. So two wins under my belt. First two games on the bench with the junior team. Not something that I will be doing for the rest of the season.
You say that now, but you will be.
No, I don't actually think that I will. It's really not. It's not my role. It's not. It's not really. I don't think it's my strong suit. Like, I think I'm better served away from the bench. I think I can help the players more not being a part of ice time decisions, because I think the relationships that they build with me are important, because they need to, you almost have to have a line between when you're a bench coach versus like a development coach, it's just, there has to be a line
The
drawn.
relationship's different.
Yeah, because you got to be able to go out to lunch with a guy and put your arm around him if things aren't going well. You've got to be able to, be honest with them with film, stuff like that, right? So, but it was great. I give the guys a lot of credit. They've won 4 in a row now at this point. They didn't start the season very well, so we're just about back to 500. We had a kid commit to Brown University the other day, and so. That was a lot of my weekend. And then, of course, the next morning I'm in front of my laptop watching film from the night before. The power play was one area that I kind of try to really focus on with them. And so my weekend was a weekend that I have specifically been trying not to do for the last couple of years. And there I was, found myself, behind a bench in a junior game. And it's funny because there was no referee incident over the weekend for me, but it's interesting that all this referee conversation has come up, Johnny, and we're going to talk about it on the show. But I did have a moment with an official that we had both Friday and Saturday. And, it's funny, like, especially at that level, this one gentleman in particular, like the lack of respect that he showed me and the players, the way he was like speaking to people. And the funny thing is the games were not reffed poorly. They were fine. Like, nobody was yelling. Nobody was screaming. Nobody was challenging calls. Like, it was actually pretty smooth in that regard. But at one point, like, I asked a question, and it's funny. And like, I don't know all the rules at junior hockey. Like, I didn't know what the exact face-off rules were. Are they the same as the NHL, NCAA? And so it's funny is that I asked a question and I'm told, shut the F up. You're an assistant coach. You don't speak, by an official in the North American Hockey League. And like, it's funny, like the players looked at me like they couldn't believe this guy said this to me. Like, I didn't raise my voice or anything. Like, I didn't know, like I'm asking a question and the guy clearly wanted to big time me because, I'm a, first time or rookie coach or whatever you would say. So, I thought that was really interesting because you see at the NHL level, there is moments like that where they curse and scream at each other, but
it's never like shut the fuck up. Yeah.
There is a partnership between the players and the referees, and you do have to show respect. And I think that, clearly this guy is lacking that understanding and respect. So I did think that was really interesting that happened over the weekend. I did put money on the board and they won.
Nice.
They
Nice.
my money.
That happens in junior now?
I don't think it does, but I just thought it'd be fun, and it would just be like a fun way to kind of, do my first game there. It's unfortunate why I have to be there. I will say this because, the guys that were in the previous staff are my friends. I think they did a good job, but, unfortunately these things happen. And on top of the money on the board, I did a Chipotle lunch for everyone, which we won both games. They got an extra day off.
Keep giving them gifts.
All the bribes that I threw their way this weekend, they collected on all of them. So good for them. It's hard to sweep in really any level of hockey on a Friday, Saturday. I think you know that well. So anyways, let's get into the show because I know you're dying to talk about these goalie interference from this weekend.
Yeah, thanks for the monologue. But let's get into our Proraso, I guess, NHL rule preview, we're going to call it, on today's episode. We're back with Proraso this season, so pumped to be partnered with them again. So a quick shout out to Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. And Colby, there were 3 calls to me that stood out over the weekend for goalie interference. 2 of them were similar in the fact that a goal was taken away. One of them totally different, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I think we should start with the Matt Rempe goalie interference, which happened in the Ranger game on Saturday night. It was Victor Mancini's shot from the point, would have been his first NHL goal. The Rangers challenge it. They lose the challenge, so then they go shorthanded as well, which obviously is one of the newer rules in the NHL. But let's just take a look at this goalie interference call on Matt Rempe, because to me, obviously maybe I have a biased view, but I didn't see much contact, or at least any contact, initiated by Matt Rempe on this play. And the explanation that was given by the official was that the goalie was unable to play his position, which to me, I just don't see it all, because I look at Connor Ingram in this play and he's set and he comes out to the top of his crease.
Well, hold on.
He sees the puck. He's set.
There's no way you can say that he's set. He's not set.
He has perfect vision of the puck and he's set.
He's trying to locate the puck and look around Rempe, which that's okay. There's nothing in the rule book that says you can't screen the goalie. The problem is that his feet are in the crease, at least one of them. And the problem there is that Rempe established a little bit of position in the crease. And look, do you want me to read the rule and then we can debate?
No, not yet, because I really want your honest opinion before you do go to the rule. Like that, give me your honest thought of that call when you.
My honest thought of that call, if I'm a hockey fan and I'm watching that, I'm like, that's a goal. How could that not be a goal? Where's the interference? Okay. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, your common sense tells you everybody was fine. There was no contact. There was no, you couldn't play his position. That's what your common sense would tell you. Okay. Yeah. But when you read the rule, it's goalie interference. Now let's argue that the rule sucks. Okay. Let's argue that why are goaltenders such a protected species class? Like, why do they get this area on the ice that okay, I understand that you can't go and run a goalie over in the crease, but why can't I establish my space in a crease before you do? Right? Like, why? Why are the goalies so protected? And then not only are they protected in the crease, they're protected out of the crease.
Seriously.
It's funny. So I texted Andrew Raycroft last night, obvious friend of the show.
Yeah.
He wrote me. We didn't get to talk last night. He texted me just before the show and said, if you want, I can talk. Because I really wanted to kind of feel him out on this a little bit and get a goalie's opinion. And obviously, goalies are always siding with goalies. Like, we understand that. But
just like we are with the skaters.
Generally speaking, don't understand why goalies are so protected. It's not like they don't wear equipment. It's not like they don't wear helmets. And I see J-Rock because they are vulnerable in the crease. They can't skate themselves out of danger. Like, why are they vulnerable in the crease? Like, what makes them vulnerable?
Well,
When
in
Matt
that
Rempe's not,
specific,
but Matt Rempe's not skating full speed. He's
no.
just standing there. So, like, why is the goalie vulnerable there? I don't agree with you, J-Rock. What makes them so vulnerable? Goalies can skate. Goalies come out of the net all the time. Goalies play the puck, right? Like, why are we're going to see another one with
Corey Perry.
no, not Corey Perry.
Will Cooley.
With
That's different.
Cooley,
Yes.
which is different. But again, he comes out of the crease and we're still.
Well, that one's egregious. That one's egregious. But I want to stick to these two before we get into that one because that one's totally different. But with these also, Colby, and I think we've talked about it before, maybe on last year's show during the playoffs, when things amplify even more and goalies are protected even more. We're setting a standard right now in game 3 of the season where you can't even stand in the crease. What's going to happen in the fucking playoffs?
Well, that's the thing. That's an important thing that you just said. They're setting a standard. And because they're clearly going no tolerance on this year. It's almost like we're back to the whole you can't even have
stand in the crease.
You can't even be in the crease. All right, look. These are the rules that have been referenced over the weekend. And you know, this is how it's written in the rule book, right? So for those of you who are audio only, I'm going to read these rules. So bear with me just so we can dissect them a little bit. Rule 69, interference on the goaltender. Now this is 69.1. Okay. And I'm going to read it here for everybody. This rule is based on the premise that an attacking player's position, whether inside or outside the crease, should not by itself determine whether a goal should be allowed or disallowed. In other words, goals scored while attacking players are standing in the crease may in appropriate circumstances be allowed, right? So that's what we just kind of talked about where you literally couldn't even have your foot in the crease if the puck's on the other side of it, blah, blah, blah. Goals should be disallowed only if, 1, an attacking player either by positioning or by contact impairs the goalkeeper's ability to move freely within his crease or defend his goal, okay? I right there don't like this rule. Right then and there, I'm like, I don't like this rule because like Peter Laviolette said, Johnny, how do we know? How can we read the goaltender's mind? Okay.
Well, that's also a part of the rule where I still think this goal should have counted. Ingram was moving. He was able to move. He came to the top of the crease. He could have stayed back if he wanted to and got a better sight line on the puck.
But Johnny, that's where read it.
But he is moving freely. There's nothing stopping him from moving.
But he's not able to move freely to the top of the crease because Rempe's there. And here's what these goalies are doing. They're smart. When a guy is an inch inside the crease, they're going up and they're initiating the contact. Like to me, Ingram initiates the contact with Rempe. Same thing on the other goal. All right, let me keep reading. 2, an attacking player initiates incidental or deliberate contact with a goaltender inside or outside his goal crease. Which will apply to the next, not the Corey Perry one, but the Cooley. I struggle.
It's okay. Will
Cooley. I struggle with his last name. So that's going to come up later. When such contact is initiated outside of the goal crease, provided the attacking player has made a reasonable effort to avoid such contact, the rule will be enforced exclusively in accordance with on-ice judgment of the referees, but may be subject to a coach's challenge. Okay? So that's 69.1, right? Let me read 69.3 as well, because I think this is another one that's interesting and that kind of brings all this into it. And then I'll let you go here, Johnny, because I know you want to say certain things. So here's 69.3, okay? And I'm not getting to 69.4, Jay Thielen. Sorry, this is the last one I'm reading. I'm done reading out loud in front of the class for today after this. Contact inside the goal crease. If an attacking player initiates contact with a goalkeeper, incidental or otherwise, while the goalkeeper is in his crease and a goal is scored, the goal will be disallowed. If a goalkeeper in the act of establishing his position within the goal crease initiates contact with an attacking player who is in the goal crease, and this results in an impairment of the goalkeeper's ability to defend the goal, and the goal is scored, the goal will be disallowed. So they're saying that even if the goalie initiates contact with a player, which is what they're all doing, if that impairs him from resetting getting his spot, getting his angle, getting out to the top of his crease, the goals will be disallowed. So I'm not going to continue reading that. That's like the important part. But like, what's crazy though is how light they're enforcing this. Like, but the goalies are smart. They're coming out, they're initiating the contact, I think, on the one with Ingram. Okay. And I think we're just at a point where these officials are setting a standard. Now, let me ask you, Johnny, after reading those two rules, okay, do your best to take your Rangers hat off. All right.
I know.
And I want any Rangers fan in our chat, which I know New York Marine is here today, give us your opinion here. After looking at the actual rules, whether you think the rules suck and are soft, you could see why these goals were disallowed.
But also, I think back to, I guess, me as a forward when I played the game, like knowing how I was taught the game. It's so hard to get to that spot and to battle for that position in front. And goalies used to fucking push you out of the crease and whack you and fight for their position well.
I agree.
The goalies would fight for their position. Now, goalies don't have to do that. We're making it so easy for them. And again, I respect the blue paint. Goalies should be protected. But if you're going to play the game of hockey, everything is a battle. 50-50 battles. That's what's talked about all the time. And goalies should have to battle. I think they should just be given a pass.
I do not understand why the goalies are such a protected class on the ice. I don't. Like, these guys are wearing full equipment, okay? They got plenty of protection, plenty of padding. These are big, strong men. Why are they so protected? I'm not saying you should be able to go run a guy over in his crease, but like, if you establish position, again, so
and it's on the D. It's on the D to get them out of that position.
Here's what I'm wondering.
Protect the goalie if you're a defenseman.
Like, so for goal, and this is what I wanted to talk to Razor about. Like, obviously the crease helps them in like setting their position and knowing where their depth is. Like, hey, where do I need to be in order to make this save? And they use the crease, to identify basically where they are in the net, right? So I'm not going to come on here today and say that I think we should shrink the net, but like, or excuse me, shrink the crease.
The crease,
right? Yeah. But maybe what has to happen is that maybe the top of the crease, we keep the lines, but maybe the top of the crease is not blue. Maybe it's white. And maybe that's an area that a player can have his feet established into, long as they don't initiate the contact. Like, if Rempe's standing where he is and that part of the crease isn't blue, it's white, I'm just trying to think outside
I can simplify it. I can simplify it for you. Rempe's feet are on the red line of the crease, from the top of the crease.
No, they're in the crease. His feet are in the crease.
Part of his skate, maybe because his feet are so fucking big, part of his skate is touching the red line for sure. They are.
Right, but his skates are this big. Like, half his foot is in the crease.
Let me finish. Okay, so half his foot's in the crease, half of it is on the line, whatever you want to call it. We can pop the clip back up maybe. But the blue line, if your feet are touching the blue, you're considered onside. So maybe if your feet are on the red in the crease, you're still considered fair play, something like that. But if your entire skate is in the blue, call it off. Disallow the goal all you want. If part of your foot is touching the red in the crease, you should be considered a fair game of some sort, because to me, the offside rule is similar to that, where a guy drags his foot before the puck goes in and he's considered onside.
Johnny, his 75% of his feet are in the crease. Like, it is. Come on, it is. But I also think that the goalies they're smart. They're seeing this, and they're like, you almost see him go out and like use Rempe as like a bumper just to make sure that everybody sees the contact, right? So here's what I'm saying here. The calls, in my opinion, are right by the rule book, but I hate the rule. And I just don't understand why the goalies, like when goalies leave the net and they leave the crease, why are they not part of play? Why are we protecting them so much? I do understand that goalies are more stationary, so there's a danger element to it. But I just like, either stay in your crease or be part of the game. I don't like it.
Yeah. I see some comments in the chat too about Matt Rempe, and I actually want to kick it over to Vic to play a clip, because I spoke to Adam Fox and Peter Laviolette after the game about this particular play, so we can play that clip, Vic.
Didn't look like he was really in there. I could see where he came through, but it seemed like he established out of there before he even shot it. But tough to see, especially for a guy you thought scored a first goal. So yeah, I don't know. I think Remps doesn't really get the benefit of the doubt with a lot of things, and I thought he was out of the crease in time, and for that shot.
I don't know how we can read the goaltender's mind. Whether he wanted to come out there or he didn't, and there wasn't any contact. But that's neither here nor there. That's over with, and it didn't go our way. We demand our players get to the paint, and then we want them to stay out of it too. So it's a fine line. He's also battling for position there as well, and so I think he was in it for a second. I think he started to move out. Like I said, the backside of his heels were just crossing the line. I didn't see much contact.
Is there any other area on the ice where a player is so protected? It's like, why? Like, there's nowhere on the ice for any other players where like they get to have free reign. But like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. They need to address this. Those need to be goals.
I agree.
They need to be goals.
Do you want to go into the Corey Perry one, or do you want to go into the Will Cooley one?
Well, we
next?
showed the Corey Perry one, but let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about it, because I don't agree, by the way, that this had anything to do with Matt Rempe. So if you watch that clip before we go into Corey Perry, was it Wes McCauley, right? Was the ref right there? He was right there. He was watching this the entire time. Okay. Like he emphatically waved that off right away. Okay. Mm-hmm. This was not called a goal and then taken back like with the Corey Perry one, right? The ref had good position. There was offensive, sustained control coming up to this goal. McCauley was in the right spot. Okay. And, I just don't think that this was a we're picking on Matt Rempe moment. I really don't. I get why they're selling that, because they want that narrative out there, because they want to get him a little bit of runway. Okay. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, to me, that was the call, because that's what happened, not because it was Rempe.
I mean, it is true, though, that he does not get the benefit of the doubt most times.
Well, has he earned the benefit of the doubt? I mean, you have to earn the benefit of the doubt in the National Hockey League. I mean, there are players who have been in the league for 15 years that get the benefit of the doubt because there's a book on them of 15 years. Like Matt Rempe has not earned the benefit of the doubt. Okay.
No, but he did do a great job in that body armor commercial. Shout out to him for the acting. I don't know if you saw that. That was pretty funny.
I didn't.
Corey Perry's another one that hasn't earned the benefit of the doubt either.
No.
So let's take a look at Corey Perry's goalie interference, which I do think was a little bit worse than Matt Rempe's.
Yeah, for sure. There's way more contact on the Corey Perry goal. And, again, initially I was like, oh, this is a big goal for them. This is perfect. Like they needed that second goal. But, look, you watch Vladar. He sees him. Vladar's the one with his blocker who like reaches out and makes sure the overhead camera establishes a bump of some sort. Right.
But also Corey Perry is the attacking player there, and he's initially like in the net on top of Vladar, and then actually makes the effort to get out of the way, which is all the rule basically asks to do. Make the effort to not initiate contact, which Corey Perry does. I don't. What pisses me off about it right now, Colby, and I mentioned it before, is what is it going to look like come playoff time when all of this is elevated even more? Because we let the rules slide with the D, with the forwards, and all the skaters in the playoffs, right? Everything gets let go. The whistles are put away. But what's amplified, again, like I said before, is the goalie interference and the contact with the goalies in the playoffs. Well, it gets even worse.
Here's one thing that I could tell you. A lot of teams have, well, first off, they see a video. The players are shown a video in training camp every year from the officials, points of emphasis, right? Things they're talking about this year. One year it could be, holding, face-off positioning, whatever. So to me, this looks like a point of emphasis to set a standard right now. And we see this almost every year where early in the season, a lot of things are being called. And then usually the players kind of figure it out. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, that these guys are smart, right? Like whether it's hooks, whether it's cheating on faceoffs, now we're seeing it with not letting goalies quote unquote establish their position in their crease. I think what's being done right now is that they are trying to make sure that they set such a hard standard that basically players are going to be way more cognizant of where their feet are outside on top of the paint. But I also think goalies are going to expose themselves a little bit because, again, the goalies are looking for the contact now. If there's a player on top of the crease, whether they're in or they're out, goalies are coming out and making sure that even they initiate the contact. And by the way the rule is written, if goalies initiate contact and they're in the crease, it's still
no
favors
goal.
the goalie, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a goalie, why wouldn't you do that?
Well, that's the perfect transition transition, because I want to show the Will Cooley goal, because the goalie initiates contact 15 feet outside the crease. So, Vic, if we can pull this one up, and did you have any final thoughts on the Corey Perry one?
No.
Okay, on this play, Will Cooley has no idea where Connor Ingram is. Ingram comes out to play the puck. Cooley skates into him, and Will Cooley gets called for goalie interference here, which, again, makes no sense for me because it's a 50-50 puck battle. And one thing I want to add, I think I saw Ben Benya in the chat say, this call had nothing to do with the outcome of the game. The Rangers still tied it. It went to overtime. Like, these calls don't necessarily always have the biggest impact. This specific call did, because the Rangers go shorthanded here. Keandre Miller then takes a penalty. They're down on a 5-on-3, and Utah scores a big power play goal to take a 2-0 lead. Because of this call, the Rangers are down 5-on-3. So sometimes these do have a big impact on the game, but I want to show the clip again, because again, this pisses me off so much, because in no way, shape, or form did Will Cooley know that Connor Ingram was there. If he saw the goalie, he could have tried to do that. But why the hell would Ingram be out to the hash marks? Why? So why is Cooley supposed to not run through the goalie when he's not in his protective area? And the goalies can't have the best of both worlds, in this opinion. They can't have the right to the entire crease, and they can't come out and try to play the puck and not expect to get hit. Like, what are we doing? Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a good call. I mean, again, we saw.
I think every single person in hockey would watch that and have to agree with me.
I'm not rereading the rules, but it does say that if you don't make considerable effort to not hit the goalie, they're going to call it, right? So it's like you go back to the rule, and like the beef is that the rules are not written well, and not necessarily that the refs are making bad calls. Again, common sense tells you, as a hockey person, why would they call that? That's not a penalty. But no. I just don't think that's what we're dealing with here. We're not dealing with a common sense rule. We're dealing with a rule that leaves a lot of gray and a lot of interpretation. I also will say this. In real time, it's a hard call for the officials to make. They're focused on the puck, and there's a battle. The goalie comes out. This is one of those where I feel like the official that should be sitting upstairs on headset with the other official that I've been talking about on the show, take one of them off the ice and put them upstairs, okay, with a headset, with TVs, all this stuff. I think that call could probably be done better with somebody with a better perspective.
That should be like challengeable too. You should be able to challenge
the ice.
that.
Well, it's not, obviously, but on the ice, you might be looking this way and you see it out of the corner of your eye, and all of a sudden you see the goalie fall and everything like that. But I'm not rereading the rules, but you can make the argument based on how the rules writing, it was the right call. Hate the call. Goalies should be completely fair game in that situation. Completely fair game. If a defenseman is standing flat-footed and comes straight at you, you can run him over. It's not like the goalie doesn't have skates on. It's not like he doesn't have a helmet on. I don't know. It's like Jay Thielen says, I hate the call too, but it's objectively correct.
So that's
wrong.
what I want to clarify too. I'm not like mad at the refs. I'm mad at the rule, because the refs, like you're saying, by the book, in real time, that's a tough call to make. But anyone watching that, like from up top, knows what happened there. And I don't really have any more thoughts on it. I just think we got to figure it out before it gets any worse, because what makes this whole situation worse as well is that now it's such a black and white thing, or such an unknown thing for coaches, that they're challenging these calls. And if they lose these challenges, they're then finding themselves shorthanded. So coaches are just going to continue to get more pissed. The video coaches are going to get pissed, because to me, like, you look at these replays, if you're a video coach and you're like, oh, no brainer, am I challenging that?
I mean,
no brainer.
But not now. After the Rempe one and after the Corey Perry one, I think everyone now is like, okay,
on edge.
Like, to me, you're looking at them going, I hate it, but it's probably goalie interference. Like, if my guy was in the crease and the goalie came out and touched, it's like, I feel like now the standard is set. Like now we know, especially because it was Rangers and Rempe, right? The internet goes on fire.
I thought you said Rempe had nothing to do with it.
Anytime it's the Rangers and it's Matt Rempe, the internet goes on fire, right? So everybody now knows here's the standard, right? And I think it's something that's going to be talked about inside the dressing rooms. I think that it's something that guys are now going to be a little more cognizant of as they're around the net, especially when pucks are coming in from the point.
That's what Lavi said. Get to the paint, but stay out of the paint. So
yeah, I mean, like, I think that's the only, it's the only thing. And just to be clear with you, Steve Gross, yes, a goalie can come out, play the puck, and not be touched, like, which is crazy. I don't understand that. I really don't. You can literally anywhere on the ice. My question would be, what happens if you're pulling your goalie, right, and the puck comes up to the side wall by the bench, maybe 5 feet by the bench, and the goalie's being pulled, and the goalie decides, I'm going to go play it. The defending player literally can't hit the goalie, even if he has the puck. By rule.
Why can't the goalie just skate up to the blue line and try to get a shot on that?
Well, because you can obviously poke check the guy, but I agree. Like, is that what it's going to take to fix this? And New York Marines asking a good question. Do you think this will change how defenders protect the net front? How long term will my thing just got really, really blurry as I'm reading.
I think long term this will be dangerous for goalies. Defenders now have incentive to push forwards into the crease. I couldn't agree more.
Exactly. Like, rather than trying, like, front the guy and almost back him into the crease. Now, there is a part of the rule that says if they're pushed in, it changes things, but this is going to be a give and take. And this is going to be a situation where, we're probably talking a lot about this for the first quarter of the season until this really gets situated. So look, we're going to move on here. Before we do move on, though, I just want to say this. Make sure you subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We just hit 16,000 subscribers, which we are grateful for. The episodes have been doing really well. We appreciate all the likes. If you're in here today and you're listening, throw a like on the episode, leave a comment on the episode. Johnny will sit around later and he will read them and he will respond to all of them. I promise.
I'll cry at the mean ones,
especially the mean ones, especially if we're talking about his dating life. So, Johnny, I know we've got a little bit of business before we move on here, right?
Yes. Let's get into. So wait, we're going to the rookies, right? Correct?
Yeah, we are going to the rookies. Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about some NHL rookies that stood out over the weekend, or maybe did not stand out over the weekend. Some guys that come to mind: Macklin Celebrini with a goal and assist in his first period in the NHL. First goal, I know, was a little bit of a fluky one, but still a really good play, really good heads-up play, and he's now on the IR. So, what do we make of Macklin Celebrini early on here?
Well, look, his goal would have been prettier if it was a pass. Which is obviously what he was trying to do. And then he had a nice assist, a primary assist
was sick.
On the next goal. And look, he looked the part. He really did. He certainly looked the part in his first game. He's been dealing with a little nagging lower body injury for a while. So I think the right decision here was to shut him down for the week and give him a little bit of rest, because he's going to probably keep going and it's going to be this thing that sort of nags him. He's played a lot of hockey, rookie games, rookie camp, training camp, preseason. For these guys, it's a lot more than they're used to in a really short period of time. So it's unfortunate, but he is on the IR for another couple of days. But I'll tell you what, game one, he certainly did not disappoint. Like, he looked like a guy who could take this league by storm and have a similar effect that Connor Bedard had as a rookie last year, where, Bedard put up big numbers while he was healthy. He was kind of all Chicago had offensively last year. I don't think that was a secret, but hopefully we'll see him back soon. But he sure did look the part on opening night.
Yeah, and another guy who looked better in game 2 rather than game 1, I thought, was Will Smith. Looked a little bit more comfortable. No points yet
Yeah.
or anything, but
I think
in his second game,
he's gonna have to. It's gonna be a little different for him because he's gonna have to play more inside the dots, and I don't think that's as inherently easy for him as it is for Celebrini and Mitchkov for that example. And we are gonna get to these people. I have seen some Stankoven comments in our chat.
Yeah.
Here, look, Stankoven is got as good a chance as anybody to win the Calder. Stankoven has a bigger body of work though. Like I think with Stankoven. He's got a chunk of games under his belt. He's got playoffs under his belt. So yeah, he'll be in the rookie voting, and he may win the Calder this year. Like the guy's a phenomenal player, but for this segment, we're kind of more focused on the guys that are brand new here. And I think Stankoven's got a little more, like we've talked about him on this show. We had a lot of opportunity to see him last year, so we're not ignoring Stankoven, but we are. Focus more on the guys that are really only maybe played one game last year and are brand new into the league.
I'm also laughing at J-Rock. I liked it already, Colby. Celebrini scored against the Blues. Go ahead, insult my Blues. Come on. He only likes the show and subscribes, or he is subscribed, obviously. But J-Rock always likes the show when we're nice to the Blues. And the Blues actually had a great comeback win against the Sharks. And I had the Sharks money line in that game, and it broke my heart and ruined my night. So shout out to J-Rock. But another rookie to get to, obviously the one that we're probably most excited to talk about, who's off to a great start, Lane Hudson. I mean, he looks unbelievable. And I saw an interesting take yesterday. I forgot who tweeted it, but someone mocking Brady Tkachuk for doing the Lane Hudson thing. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah,
Brady
I
Tkachuk
responded and I said, BU
you
on
did?
BU crime.
Yeah, I don't think Brady Tkachuk was like really being a dick by any means.
Oh, I think he was. Are you kidding me?
But not
100%.
like.
Do we have that clip?
I don't think we do.
Vic, see if you can pull up. I'll send it to you actually. While
I think Brady Tkachuk was just having a little fun. I don't think he was like.
I think he was totally mocking.
Well, he was obviously mocking, but not like being. I don't think he was like being an asshole.
What would you call mocking him?
I don't know. I don't really know. I didn't. Maybe I'm wrong here.
You're wrong.
But either way, at what point do we see Lane Hudson get moved to the first power play?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's probably inevitable.
I thought this was hilarious.
I think you want to get some practice time in with that first power play group because a guy like Lane Hudson is a little bit of a different. I mean, he's 100%.
I thought it was so
being
funny.
An asshole. Like I love it. It's hysterical.
Just have a little fun though.
But look, Hudson is shifty, man. He's not afraid to do that. It reminds me a little bit of the PK Subban days where he was kind of shaking and baking a little bit with a lot of the head fakes, but. It's been effective. I mean, Lane Hudson has come into this league and he's quickly shown that he can play at this level. He can produce. I mean, he's just always around the puck, Hudson. He really is. He's always around the puck.
Funny comment from Ben Benya. Patrick Lane Hudson, the legend built on this very show. When you call Patrick Lane Patrick Lane, and you're
last year, right? Yeah. Or I mean,
last week.
That was last week. Yeah, look, he's been good. 4 points in 3 games. You're right. Will he end up on the first power play unit? I think he will. But I think, like I said, Hudson likes to hold the puck. So I think on that unit, you're working with guys that you need to probably facilitate a little bit more on. Now the kid's a phenomenal passer. It's only a matter of time. It really is. It's only a matter of time. Marty St. Louis, perfect coach for him.
No, I fully agree. Next one to get into. Flyers fans, I've liked what I've seen from him. Obviously, there's not many points thus far. He has 1 assist. He could have had more. He had a great backdoor feed, I believe, in the Vancouver game. I don't know who missed it on the backdoor, but Matvei Michkov has been pretty solid so far. Again, is not lighting up the stat sheet, but I've liked what I've seen from the kid in his first 2 games. You?
Well, look, here's what I like about him is that he's getting chances.
I already missed it.
And
thank you, Zach.
B, he's going to the dangerous areas. Like you don't see him on the peripheral, Michkov, which is something you always worry about with teenage hockey players in the National Hockey League is, are they going to get inside the dots? Are they willing to play in the high traffic, high danger areas? And the 2 games that Michkov's played, and even preseason, he's shown that he has no issue going to the high danger areas, right? I think he's going to have a great year. I've been really impressed with him. I do think he will put up points. He's had opportunities. His playmaking ability on the power play is obviously at kind of a different level than anybody else that they have. And I think Flyers fans have all the reason in the world to be excited because, again, so far, when you really look at his game and you look at where he's playing the game from, I think that makes you excited. You see him in on the battles. You don't see him shying away from the scrums. If anything, he looks hungry for it. And that's perfect for Broad Street. That's perfect for Philadelphia Flyers fans. It's perfect for hockey to have a guy who can make those plays and play with that insane skill, but is also not afraid to go in and do the rough stuff and battle and come out with pucks. I think that's great. And what about his wingman, Jet Lochenko, youngest player to ever play for the Philadelphia Flyers since Danis Zubris. If you're a Flyers fan, you remember Zubris. I remember him.
I don't remember him as a Flyer.
Really? I remember him as a Flyer.
I remember him as like a Capital, a Devil.
Yeah, he was drafted like really high by the Philadelphia Flyers. But I like Lochenko too, man. That kid plays with speed. He plays mature. I don't know. Is he going to play the whole season? Is he going to be a 9-game guy and then go back to juniors? I think there's plenty of time to sort that out. They've got, 6 more games or whatever to figure that out. But I was impressed in the regular season games. Like, he did not look like a guy who was lacking confidence. He looked like a guy who belonged. And I know it's early, but, give him a little bit of flowers too. I know it hasn't, shown up on the stat sheet per se, but he doesn't look like a guy who doesn't belong, Lochenko. And for an 18-year-old freshly drafted kid who every Flyers fan criticized Danny Briere for that pick, very few people felt like he knew what he was doing on that pick. Well, so far, this kid looks like he's going to be a hell of a hockey player. Like, I'm here's sort of the energy that I'm getting from these two rookies. And what I'm wondering is and again, I'm not saying it's apples to apples, but when the Flyers got Jeff Carter and they got Mike Richards, who were entering pro hockey at the exact same time, right? I think they were the same draft. They were both first-round picks. They came through the Phantoms. They won a Calder Cup, and then they entered the NHL at the same time, Richards and Carter. And it was like these two young sort of Bash brothers. Like, one guy was sort of hard-nosed and heavy skill. Jeff Carter is one of the most pure goal scorers we've seen forever in the NHL. Like, just pure shooter goal scorer. I kind of get a similar feel to that, but I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but I'm getting that kind of feel from Michkov and Lochenko.
Yeah, they've been really fun to watch, and the Flyers, I mean, they're going to be an exciting team this year, I think. And it started last year, and they're going to build on that. And one thing to look for too, if you're a hockey fan and just like seeing behind the scenes kind of stuff, I'm blanking on the name right now, but the Philadelphia Flyers have done a great behind the scenes show on YouTube. And a lot of the talk has been about Jet Lochenko. So you can really get a feel for how much management in the organization just loves this kid as a whole, which is why I think he'll stick around. Yeah,
Johnny,
why I think he'll stick around.
Dude, I'm having these conversations with players on our North American League team, Titans team. We have a couple of kids who are up from the U18 team, and they don't want to go back. And I'm telling them, all you can do as a young player is force the management team who makes these decisions, not me, but force them into a difficult decision. If you're Lochenko, you can control how you perform when you get an opportunity on the ice, but you need to force Danny Briere to make a decision that they didn't want to make. They wanted him to slowly develop probably in juniors, but he's forcing their hand in Philadelphia. So good for him for doing that so far. And we'll see how this plays out. 9 games is an eternity, right? Like, that's a long ways away in hockey years. Yeah. It really is. GMs don't make decisions until 11:59 the night before a deadline. Look at how these contract situations get done, right?
Yeah. And the last one I think we want to mention, Mike Calder pick, who I transparently have not watched a single second of yet.
I watched a little bit. I was up late last night.
You watched Anaheim?
Okay. So I did watch Anaheim. And look,
how's Cutter looking?
He was around the puck. He had a good opportunity to score, actually. He kind of jumped in on a turnover and had a backhand opportunity right on top of the goal. Here's the thing with Gauthier. Like, he's not going to have against a team like you're playing Vegas. Vegas manages the puck so far this season. Vegas, I mean, they're managing the puck. They look like they're one of the 3 or 4 teams, along with like maybe Winnipeg, 1 or 2 others, that look in midseason form, right? Their D zone has been good. They're managing the puck incredibly well. They're giving up very little. Anaheim didn't have a ton of opportunities. Everything was one and done. So I think Cutter Gauthier is going to be fine. Like, he looks like he belongs. He's getting opportunities. He's a bigger, stronger kid. So I think so far what have they played? 2 games, Anaheim? I think he's going to be a guy who will light the lamp this year. Like, I could see him scoring 20 goals this year for Anaheim. Like, I really could. I think that's really,
30,
really doable for Cutter Gauthier this year.
Okay, so now let's get into some surprises from week 1. To me, there's one surprise that stands out more than anything, and that is Sam Montembeaudor out in Montreal. Montembeaud has been lights out, has a .986 save percentage and a 0.50 goals against average, and is 2-0 in the first 2 games for Montreal. Has stopped 72 of 73 shots, has a shutout. I mean, this guy has been unbelievable, and Montreal is a team that we've talked about that needs that from him if they want to even sniff being talked about for a playoff spot. We know they're going to need to take big steps this year, but I don't think anyone considers them a playoff team. With the way Montembeaud is playing right now, who knows? That's the biggest surprise for me personally.
Wait, are we calling it a surprise, or are we going to call it an overreaction?
It feels like both. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. It's not an overreaction,
right?
No, it's got the best.
Well, but you're already talking playoffs. After 2 performances.
No, I said if they want to even sniff the conversation,
right? But you use the word playoffs.
Yeah, I still don't have them making the playoffs. I'm saying for Montreal, if he can play like this throughout the whole year, yeah, they can be in the conversation.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to say. He's not going to keep those numbers all season.
I don't think so either.
I don't think it's nearly sustainable. I don't think, to me, this is the biggest surprise at all. To me, the biggest surprise is the Edmonton Oilers. I think that you look at the expectations for the Edmonton Oilers going into this season. I saw something on social media. I think it was like the Sportsnet panel. Everyone picked who they thought, all across Sportsnet. 80-90% of everyone says the Edmonton Oilers are going to win the Cup. ESPN, everybody says Edmonton's going to win the Cup. I mean, not everyone, but most people. They look like a bad hockey team right now. I mean, I watched that game last night. I didn't watch the Dallas game, Dallas-Seattle. I kind of figured you'd be watching Dallas-Seattle, so I watched Edmonton-Calgary. Man, they played better through the first portion of that hockey game, but when that second goal gets disallowed off Corey Perry, it was like the end for them.
Yeah.
And I think it was the second goal. The guy who got his first National Hockey League goal, who was drafted in 2014, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Maybe Vic, you can look that up. I think it was the second goal of the game for third goal. Connor McDavid, maybe it was the second goal, maybe it was the third goal.
It was Justin Kirkland. Justin Kirkland, the third goal.
Are blending together, but like McDavid turned the puck over, then he comes back into the defensive zone. He gets beat back to the net. They look lost in the D zone on Kirkland's goal. I'm like, where is Darnell Nurse on this play? You've got 3 guys puck watching in the National Hockey League. I mean, like, their defensive zone and their puck management is atrocious right now. Like, I just don't understand how this team could start this way and how they can look so unorganized. And they're back to this team that everybody questioned, can they win a playoff series? And again, it's the first week of the season. They started horribly last year. They had to fire their coach, right? So they've been through this. Everyone says it's fine. Tyler Yaremchuk from Daily Faceoff posted a picture on his Instagram story last night of him driving home listening to the song Stan by Eminem, which I thought was kind of funny. Like, you remember that song? Like, it's obviously, it's kind of a messed up song. It's from like Eminem's early days, but it's where he's like leaving a voicemail and he's going to drive his car, like off a bridge. I mean, it's an
Got it.
Eminem song here. So
Got it.
so don't come for me on this one, people. Like, leave the woke police at home. We're talking about an Eminem song. It's funny. It's not
It's okay. You don't have to explain yourself.
in bad taste, I would say, right? So, but Edmonton, man, they look like a total disaster, and not the way you want to start the year when everyone says you're going to win the cup.
And the last team I want to talk about before we go into our bet of the day, because we do have to end the show just a little bit earlier today. The Rangers morning skate is at 10:30, which I can catch in Madison Square Garden, and the Red Wings are right after. So got to take off here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. But we would be doing no justice if we did not mention the vibes of the Utah Hockey Club. 3-0 to start the year. Fans have been electric. Team has been electric. Their buzz in the room the other night was unbelievable. I spoke to Josh Stone one-on-one. I have that story coming out at 11:30 today on dailyfaceoff.com. Awesome kid, but 3-0. Clayton Keller looks unbelievable. Dylan Gunther, 5 goals, 0 assists. The Cy Young Award, as you mentioned it last week. They've gotten great play from all around, and I'm happy for this team. They deserve it. They've earned it, and the vibes are high. I think playoffs is in the cards for the Utah Hockey Club. I said it in the preseason. I accidentally put $1,000 on them to make it at plus 176. Colby wasn't catching the vibes, and I'm sure your mind hasn't changed, but are you happy to see what we've gotten so far from Utah?
I mean, look, you watch them play. They're exciting. I mean, people are going to watch them play because to me, they look like they're playing harder.
They zip the puck around.
Right?
They zip the puck around.
They look like they're playing a little bit harder than everyone. They look like they're playing a little bit faster. They look like they're playing a little bit more in your face. They still have their issues. I mean, they win 6-5 at Madison Square Garden the other night. I mean, you don't see that many 6-5 games, especially with Igor Shesterkin. That was an Igor Shesterkin game because I remember thinking, ooh, that was a bit of a softie. But I don't think they're a playoff team, but they certainly are exciting. They really are. I mean, Keller has started the season really well. Gunther he can shoot the puck. Yeah. That kid has an absolute missile.
Matthias Michelli is really fun to watch too. He's good.
Barrett Hayton is healthy. Yeah. McBain is off to a good start. And they still are without Marino, right? They're without Marino, who is a good defenseman. I mean, that's a reliable defender back there, to say the least. So look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I think they're a playoff team, but they certainly have, as you say, the vibes going. We had our little Twitter back and forth last night, which I thought was all in good fun. I thought it was funny. Some former loser writer from The Athletic, she didn't think it was so funny. She's unemployed, so it's all good. She came at me on social media, then she deleted her tweets before anybody could even respond to her. I guess that's what happens when you're sitting at home alone too often. So
I'm not getting in the middle of that battle. Of
course not. You would never take my side on anything because you're not a good teammate. But let me ask you a question real quick, because I know we're going to get to our bet of the day and then we're going to buzz off. Gunther gets that big contract very, very newly into his NHL career. There's a lot of buzz about the Lafraniere contract. Could you see him? Like, I think Lafreniere should get more money. And I think the AAV was like 7 and change on Dylan on Guenther's contract. 7.25 maybe was like the AAV on his. So where do you put that 8-year deal for Laffy? Like, what do you think the right number is before we move on to our bet of the day? Because
Guenther's 7.1, 7.14.
So then to me, like, I think Lafreniere, again, last year was his first year.
8.5.
I think last year was his first year where he really proved that he could be a star. So, I'm going to go ahead and say, I think like 8.25 would be the number, 8 by 8.25.
Definitely north of 8, I would think.
I think that would probably become a pretty team-friendly contract if this kid continues to go on the up and up. Maybe he's smarter to wait a little bit longer. If he waits till halfway through the season and stays on this pace, he could ask for 9 or more.
Yeah, I mean, either way, like signing him for 8 years is the key thing here, because he's 23 years old, just turned 23. You get him through his prime. I mean, essentially hasn't even sniffed his prime yet, right? Like we always say, the prime ages are what, 26 to 30 typically in the NHL,
For
maybe
forward,
31.
it's a little bit younger. I think you could be in your prime like a little bit earlier than that as a forward. I think defenseman takes a little bit longer. But if Laf waits, he could get a huge payday. If he does it right now, he's leaving money on the table. But again, like it's hard to say no when you're, how old is he?
23. I just said it, just turned 23.
So he's 23 years old. He takes an 8-year deal. That puts him at 31 years old. And, you're basically going to guarantee yourself $64+ million. Let's call it $66 or $68 million, probably. Hard to say no to that. But I'm telling you, if he waits 6 months, he could put himself at $75 million potentially. New York taxes, man, living taxes, you get crushed in New York. So anyways, I just wanted to ask you that question. Let's get to bet of the day, and then we're gonna end the show here in a minute.
All right, so let's get into our bet of the day, sponsored by Bet365. There actually are a lot of games to look at specifically for storylines today. I'll shout out Sidney Crosby being at 1,599 points, one away from 1,600, also 8 goals away from 600. He plays Montreal tonight, and Patrick Waugh makes his return to Colorado. But the game I'm looking at, which actually starts at 1 o'clock this afternoon, is the New Jersey Devils at home against the Utah Hockey Club. We're taking the Devils to win in regulation. New Jersey Devils 3-way. The Devils had a stinker of a game at home against Toronto. They want to do right by their fans in their own barn. I don't think, as much as I'm all on the Utah Hockey Club vibes train right now, I don't know how sustainable it is with the way they've played, because they're winning games 6-5, 5-4. Like they're not really defending all that well. And the Devils are a team that has been scoring goals. Their third line, Haula, Nason, and Cotter have been unbelievable so far. Paul Cotter leads their team in points and goals, I believe, with 4 and 1. So the Devils right now, they're a team that's off to a pretty hot start. They should establish a good, strong game at home today. And I think the Devils take this one in regulation. And listen, let's be honest here. The Utah Hockey Club's been in the New York City area for about 6 days. They've probably had 1 or 2 nights out. Sometimes that catches up to you, I feel like, for the most part. Colby, you can probably attest to it more than I can, because I've never partied in the NHL, but I imagine after beating the Rangers on a Saturday night at MSG, they had a green light. So I'm expecting a slow start in an afternoon.
Big green light.
Oh, yeah. So should be a slow start for Utah this afternoon. So we're taking the Devils 3-way, and that is presented by Bet365. Remember to open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So use our code Daily365. That's going to wrap up the show for today, Colby, unless you have one final thing that you want to get to before we
So look, I think if you're with us, give us a like and a subscribe. The Daily Face-Off on your way out the door. Couple of other things going on Daily Face-Off Live. You've got Daily Face-Off Live coming up at noon. This afternoon, Frankly Speaking, which is Frank Saravalli's show, will be releasing a one-on-one conversation with Jim Montgomery of the Boston Bruins. That'll be at 2 p.m. At 1 o'clock on the Daily Face-Off YouTube, Down to Earth, they'll be putting out an episode as well. So lots of content on the Daily Face-Off YouTube. That'll actually be the debut of the show with Paul Bissonnette on Down to Earth. So the first ever episode at 1 p.m. releasing on the Daily Face-Off, Down to Earth. He's a Vancouver guy, you said, right, Johnny?
Yeah, really nice guy. I've met him a couple of times. He's awesome. So I'm really pumped to see that show as well.
I'm sure Biz will have something to say. So you'll want to make sure you check that out by subscribing to the YouTube page, set an alarm. We'll be back with you 9 a.m. tomorrow live. As always, Monday through Thursdays until the playoffs. Then we'll be Monday through Friday once that happens. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our Canadian listeners and viewers. We know you guys are jumping the gun a little bit on that. We're waiting another 6 weeks or so here for our Thanksgiving here in America to find out who's going to make the playoffs and who's not going to make the playoffs. Good job today, Johnny. Enjoy Rangers morning skate. I'm sure your Twitter will be on fire later. I'm sure you'll ask Patrick Kane some fun ones. But I think that's all we got for today. Thanks for being with us. We will see everybody 9 a.m. tomorrow.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Face-Off. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.